Hello, my name is Jennifer Van Valkenburg, Senior Program Officer at the Battle Creek Community Foundation. Today, I will be providing an overview of BCCF's fiscal year 26-27 competitive grant process. First, we'll talk about eligibility. To keep it simple, we fund federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit organizations, not individuals. To apply, your organization must be a 501c3 nonprofit or a tax-exempt public entity like a church, a school, or a municipality in doing work that is impacting the greater Battle Creek community. Alternatively, community groups doing charitable programming that impacts the greater Battle Creek area may also apply by partnering with a 501c3 fiscal sponsor. If you're unsure about your eligibility status or want a deeper dive into our place-based commitment to Greater Battle Creek, I highly recommend watching our dedicated webinar on grant eligibility requirements. It's a great resource to ensure you're set up for success before you start the application. So what exactly is a competitive grant? You might also hear us refer to these as general grants. Essentially, these are designed to support eligible organizations that are running charitable programs with a direct, measurable impact on our community. To be considered, your proposal will need to align with one of our three focus areas: livable communities, education, or health. Next, we'll talk about the budget. Requests are greater than $1,500 with the maximum request amount set at $20,000. To give you some helpful context for your planning, the average grant award last fiscal year was just under $11,000. Keep that figure in mind as you scale your project request. It's important to note that competitive grant funding is specifically for direct programming expenses. We fund the boots-on-the-ground costs of your delivery. This includes things like program materials and marketing, program coordinator salary, or contracted services to support the program, like space rentals or transportation. Now, a quick note on what we don't cover in this category. Capital or operating requests are not currently considered through the competitive process. I know the line between programmatic and operating can sometimes feel thin, so please refer to our Grantee Partner Resource Guide. It has a fantastic breakdown with specific examples to help you categorize your expenses correctly. With that eligibility framework in mind, let's move on to the next step, the competitive process. Now, if you take a look at the chart on your screen, you'll see the full roadmap for our competitive grant process from the initial planning stages all the way to the finish. To keep things manageable, we've broken this down into three distinct phases. We begin with Phase 1, Partner Supports. This is the foundational stage where our community partners start the internal planning for your grant request. It's the time to align your goals and gather the data you'll need for your proposal. Next, we move into Phase 2. This is the application portion, and I want to pause here because we're doing things a little different this year. We're piloting a new two-step process. Instead of jumping straight into a long application, we're requiring two separate submissions. Step 1 is the letter of intent. This is your chance to give us a high-level overview of your request. Once you submit it, our staff will review it specifically to confirm eligibility. The benefit here is flexibility. If the request doesn't hit the eligibility markers initially, you'll have the opportunity to make edits and resubmit before the deadline. Step 2 is the full application. Once your eligibility is confirmed, the formal application will be available to you in the system to complete and submit by the established full application deadline. Lastly, we reach Phase 3. Grant decision notification and payment. This is the final portion of the process where we notify you of the funding decision and begin the payment distribution for awarded grants. I know that's a lot of high-level information at once, so don't worry. We're going to spend the next few slides breaking down each of these phases into more detail so you know exactly what to expect. We'll talk a bit about Phase 1. This is really your dedicated time for strategy and brainstorming. During this window, you are narrowing down your program ideas and identifying what you'll need funding to support. To set yourself up for success, we highly recommend making the Grantee Partner Resource Guide your first step. It's a comprehensive tool designed for you to review at your own pace, and it's packed with insights to help you build a strong application. We also know that sometimes you need a sounding board. If you've gone through the resource guide and you still have questions, please reach out. Our grants team is more than happy to meet to discuss your proposal. To ensure we can give everyone the attention they deserve, we are available to meet with you up until 5 days before the deadline. We encourage you to get on our calendars early. Now let's dive into Phase 2. This year, we've streamlined things into a 2-step process to ensure everyone's time is used effectively. We want to ensure that only those eligible to be considered for funding spend their precious energy on a full application. This step allows us to get to know your vision and confirm grant eligibility without requiring a massive upfront investment from your team. First, you'll submit a letter of intent, or LOI. Think of this as a high-level snapshot of your request. Our staff will review these to confirm eligibility for the request to advance to Step 2, the full application. If we have any questions during this stage, we'll reach out to you directly for clarification, and you'll have the opportunity to edit your LOI and resubmit by the deadline. One tip: review your LOI carefully. Once it's officially approved and you move to the application stage, that initial document becomes locked and can't be changed. Information submitted on the LOI will then flow into the application and will be reviewed during the decision-making process. An LOI is required before an application can be submitted. If the LOI deadline has passed, the application will be unavailable for new applicants. Step 2 is the full application. When your LOI meets the eligibility criteria, you'll be notified that you will have access to complete the application with your formal request by the established application deadline. Lastly, I want to highlight how decisions are made. While BCCF staff acts as your primary liaison and support team, the actual funding decisions are made by a committee comprised of community volunteers. They review each application carefully and make the grant funding award decisions. For more information on what the Grant Review Committee is looking at in an application, please review our Grantee Partner Resource Guide. Next, we'll move on to Phase 3 to discuss how you'll be notified of those decisions and how payments are issued. In Phase 3, we move from application to action. Keep an eye on your inbox. You'll receive an automated email from our grants management system once a decision is made. When you get that email, just log into the grant portal and check your organization's profile to find your grant decision notification letter. If you've been selected for an award, that letter will specify your organization's total funding amount and include instructions for the grant agreement contract. This is a standard requirement for all BCCF competitive grants. If you want to see what that looks like ahead of time, we have a sample agreement available in the Grantee Partner Resource Guide. If you receive an award, a follow-up will be assigned to your request in the portal. There you'll find a link to download the agreement. You'll just need to print it out, have your organization's leadership sign it, scan and re-upload the signed copy back into the portal for submission. As soon as we receive that signed contract, we'll process payment in BCCF's next scheduled payout. Once those funds hit your account, you can bring your program to life as outlined in your application and budget. BCCF grant awards are typically a year in length, and a final grant report will be assigned through the portal. It will be due within 30 days of the end of the award period. Should you have any questions during the process, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. That wraps up our competitive grant process, and we have just 2 more items to share with you before we close out the webinar. We've mentioned the Grantee Partner Resource Guide a few times during the presentation, and you can see on this slide where you can locate that information on our website. It's at www.bccfoundation.org on the Grant Opportunities page under Applicant Resources. The arrow on this slide shows where you can find and download the guide. BCCF's competitive grant deadlines and key steps are listed on this slide for your reference. We have 2 general grant cycles available this year, and the dates can also be found on our website. Thank you for reviewing this webinar. We hope it's been helpful. Should you have any questions or would like to set up a time to meet to discuss a possible application, please don't hesitate to reach out to our grants team members. Our contact information is listed here, and this information can also be found on our website. We appreciate your partnership and hope you have a wonderful day.